Good morning, Mrs. Tallentire.
Good morning, Mrs. Weiss.
So I wanted to ask you about a journey that you've been on. What we're doing is we're doing interviews with people about quests they have been on. And a quest is any kind of journey where you think you're going on it for one reason, but then you end up finding out that it's for another reason, actually. And usually that second reason is that you learn something about yourself or someone else. So I want you to think about times that you have been on quest before. So I know you had the cancer.
The cancer.
And I'm sure that was quite a quest for you. I think a lot of students might know about that already.
I think they do.
So are there things in your life that you can think of that you have been on a journey that maybe took you to a place you hadn't expected?
Yes. So always when I was growing up, there were two things that I definitely wanted. I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to have a family. And so the teacher part was easy because I could control that. I could go to college, I could make a choice, I could become a teacher, and I did. Got married like about a year after, I guess I graduated from college, maybe 2. And very, very anxious to have children. And so we started trying to have a baby right away. And just wasn't working. So I just was having a lot of trouble becoming pregnant. And I think I had kind of always in the back of my mind had this fear just because I wanted it so much. Like, when I was young, all I did was I played house. I was the mom. I was obsessed with dolls. That was going to be, I knew, the greatest gift for me in my life.
And so was that extra hard just because you were a teacher? So you basically had all of these kids who are kind of like your kids. I think we always think like our kids in our classroom are like our children, but they're not really your children.
I remember one particular Mother's Day where that was very painful because my mother-in-law gave her daughters Mother's Day gifts. And she gave me one too because I was the mother of so many children. It was a violet. It died.
Did you kill it because you didn't water it? Because you're kind of like that.
I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was a little bitter about the violet.
Yeah, I don't want a flippin' violet.
I want a baby.
Yeah, I want a baby. So like obviously, like you have 2 children now.
Yes.
So what kinds of things happened?
Well,
keep in mind these are 8th graders, so we need to keep this like PG.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might
okay.
Let me
rethink.
Yeah.
Well, for us, and everyone is different, but for me, I was ready for a sure thing. So there are a lot of things people can do medically to try to increase their chances of having a baby. But I knew that being a mom was way more important to me than being pregnant. So I would always say, I can die happy never being pregnant, but I can't die happy never being a mom. So, and we didn't have a lot of money. And everything you do is expensive. So if we were to try in vitro, that would have been a set amount of money. And if that didn't work,
there are no guarantees.
There's no guarantees. So we just decided we weren't going to do any of that, and that we would just try to adopt a baby, which is not easy.
Right, and that's also can be really expensive.
It can be very expensive, and it was. So, yeah.
How did you end up finding a baby? Like, did you go through a state agency or?
With our first one, which is Alex, we did go through an agency, and it is called Adoption by General Care. It's still open, and they are still placing babies for adoption today, 27 years later.
So how did you hear about that agency?
Honestly, I think, well, I didn't Google it, I can tell you that.
There was no Google.
There was no Google. my sister knew of someone that had adopted successfully through them, but I also knew that it was a very competitive process. Like, we had to go through extensive interviews, medical workups.
So you must have lied for them to be able to give you a baby. They must not have known the truth about you.
We did lie a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. I can remember that they had to interview us separately, and so I can remember being upstairs and trying to listen to what Tim was saying, because
So you could match his answers.
yeah, I was afraid he was going to mess it up. I wanted to be down there controlling what he said.
So tell us about when you ended up getting Alex, like what that was like.
Well, we were not expecting it at all, because at first we were turned down by the agency, and then they.
Why were you turned down?
We were going to do a different type of adoption, and then we got kind of cold feet about it, and we just really, really wanted an infant, because I wanted an infant. I think Tim would have been okay, probably either way, but I just wanted a baby straight home from the hospital. So we were initially turned down for that program. And then I don't really know what happened. I called crying several times, and then they put us back in the pool.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was really scary, because then I thought we weren't going to get a baby at all.
Right.
So then, we thought it would be like 2 or 3 years that it would take, and so we knew that we were accepted in February, and I was sitting in my classroom in May, and someone came on the loudspeaker, our secretary did, and she said, "Oh, Mrs. Talentire, could you come down to the office? It's your social worker." And my principal had asked me to share with the students just in case it happened, and I was very reluctant. I said, "No, I don't want to do that. It's not going to happen this year." And so the kids were like, "It's your baby, it's your baby." And I went down to the office, and I picked up the phone, and Lucy, the social worker, said, "You need to sit down." And so I sat down, and she said, "Do you have something to write with?" I said, "Yes." And they're handing me a pen and a little scrap of paper, and she said, "You have a baby boy."
Oh my gosh. So,
Yeah.
like, how long after she called did it take for you to get Alex? Like, actually get him in your arms?
10 hours.
Oh, it wasn't even a full day.
No.
So you had 10 hours to prepare for having a baby in your house.
Mm-hmm.
So you hadn't obviously had a baby shower.
No.
You didn't have anything.
No.
What did you do that first night?
Well, when I got home, they wouldn't let me leave school right away because I was very shaky and almost felt like I was going to faint and all of this. So when I got home, Tim was upstairs working in this bedroom that was going to be the nursery. He was scraping. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what you're doing? Like, we don't have anything." So Alex came that night, and he came in an outfit, which was really ugly, by the way. But then I'll never forget this, because the social worker took the outfit off of him because it was like something that belonged to the agency.
So he's naked?
He had on a diaper, and left. And so she had left some bottles. We had a car seat because that was a requirement for our home study. He slept in a laundry basket. On a towel. We didn't even have a blanket. Yeah. So she left a few diapers, and I had a package of onesies.
Do you have pictures of him?
Yeah, I do.
That first night.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So obviously you were planning on having a baby. That was your quest. That was your intention. And then you ended up getting a baby. But sometimes what you get out of that is more than what you really intended. What do you think you really learned from that whole experience?
I think that what I learned is how much our hearts have the capacity to love. I loved this. I think when you're pregnant, I don't know, because I've never been pregnant, but I think that, you can feel the baby moving, and you have 9 months, and you're gradually falling in love. And, we didn't have that, certainly with Alex, because it was just, boom, here he is. And, it was a little strange that first night, because we were just kind of like, okay, well, what do we do? But the other really, really cool thing was my dad, because he hadn't shared this with me, but he was afraid that he would not be able to love an adopted grandchild, like he loved my sister's 2 children that had already been born. But when he came to visit us the next day, and he said when he saw me standing in the doorway and just saw me, even before he saw Alex, he was in love with him. And then, he knew.
He knew too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with
Sure.
all of our kids. I know that's really important, and I'm sure they'll
Sure.
appreciate you sharing that side of yourself that maybe they didn't know.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.